So next with Willow, we're going to work on the down position. And this is the lie down, not the getting off. So next with Willow, we're going to work on the down position. And this is the lie down, not the getting off. And so when it does come time to add your cue, you want to think about that. What's my word for lying down? And what's my word to have them put 4 on the floor? So for me, down means to lie down, and off means 4 on the floor. And the same goes for Willow. So her lying down word will be down as well. But as always, we want to work on getting the behavior to happen before we add a cue. So it's that luring and rewarding, luring and rewarding. But I'm going to reward that because that's sitting and not jumping. I have stuff. She wants it. And what she's learning is to get stuff. I'm polite. To get stuff, I'm polite. So when I start with the down position, I do like to start them in the sitting position. Good girl. But I don't want to say sit and then go to a down because I don't want to teach my dog that when I say sit, I'm always going to ask them for a down because pretty soon when I say sit, they go straight to the down and I lose the sit. So instead, it's luring all the way or taking it if they offer it. So I'm going to position her in a different way. So food to her nose, luring her around. You want to have enough food in your hand so you can lure and reward along the way. So I'm going to lure, that's a good girl, to that sit and reward. And from here, I'm going to go straight to her nose and I'm going to go to her toes. So we're going to lure down, yes. And as soon as she goes down, yes, and treat. Good job. And then we'll repeat. You ready? Okay. So again, food to the nose, luring to that sit. I can treat that. And then slowly, as long as she's following it, yes. And then yes, and treat. I'm looking for those elbows to hit the ground if possible. Good girl, what she's doing. No words yet. And repeat. We're just letting her learn how to do the gesture and her body to do it right. Ready? And then we're going to lure down. Yes. And when you're luring down, you're going straight from her nose and right in between her toes. Don't pull it out because when you pull it out, they usually stand up. So let's see. So if I lure and pull out, see how she walks forward? She's like, no, I can do it. So you want to go right down to that nose and those toes. Yes, good girl. And I'm treating down here so that we're not treating the pop-up. And when she's down there, like our sits, I'm treating her more than once to encourage her to stay down there and not to pop up. Okay. And we'll just encourage that release word. Good girl. Yes, good girl. What a good girl. What a good girl. What a good girl. Now, if your dog is struggling to go all the way down, and you're doing this, and maybe they're popping that butt, and you're trying to do this, and then they pop that butt, then what you can do is you can take a partial, meaning I'll go down here, and yes, and treat that. Because I want to teach my dog to be able to do it, and not to give up. Good job. She's like, but I can do it. I can go all the way. So reward in little bits, if that's what your dog is up for. Good job. So this week, if your dog is doing the down gesture by following the lure slowly, just practice that. On the other hand, if they go fast like Willow, then I would go to the next step, which for me the next step is to remove the food from my hands and reward from my pocket. So that again, they're learning to follow gesture, not just always following food. So empty hand, what you got? Okay, get her up, you ready? Yes, and then food. Good job. Good job. Okay. So empty hand. Yes. And still wait for those elbows. And then yes. And then treat. Good job. Yes. So what they're learning is just because I don't see food doesn't mean that mom and dad doesn't have the opportunity to reward me. So we want their little heads to know that there's always an opportunity for a reward. I don't have to see it to always get it. What are you thinking? Say, are we doing rollover? Not yet. And I wouldn't teach rollover at the same time you're teaching down, because then what's going to happen is you're going to be trying to do down and they're going to try to do rollover. So even though that was adorable, if you're practicing your down behavior, then I wouldn't laugh and giggle at that, because we want to be able to keep the down. Okay, you ready? So empty hand. Yes! And you see how I just waited for her to follow. And the reason it took longer was because there was a little bit of a lag between our last session. So her little mind had to go, what was I doing again? Okay. Okay. So again, her little mind. Yes, good girl. You never want to push your dog. You never want to pull feet. If she weren't able to do it and follow the empty lure, then what I would do is I'd go back to having the food in my hand because I brushed it too much. You ready? You want to do one more? Okay, one more. Let's have those fun. Yes, good girl. Good job. So this week, work with luring your dog to the down position with the food lure first, and if they get really good, go ahead and drop the food lure and lure with an empty hand, but reward with food from the other hand. That good girl? Whee! Good job! We're going to continue with the down behavior, so what I'm going to do is go to Willow's nose and down to her toes, yes, and treat there. And since she's doing so well, and she did well in the last time, we're going to lure quicker, so we're going to go, yes, yes. Maybe not too quick, because we want those front elbows to hit. Whoops. Yes. So we're yesing when those elbows hit for her. Yes. So she's sniffing. She's like, wait a minute. She's sniffing, sniffing, sniffing. Yes, and then treat. Ready? Okay. Sniffing, sniffing, sniffing. Yes, and then treat. So now I'm going to see if I can do it without the hand, because we want to get, without the food, because we want to get the food out of the hand. Yes, and then reward. So they're learning they can follow empty hands, and that food still is an option. Okay. 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 Ready? Yes. Okay.
That count as a down?
We'll call that something else. That's just a stretch. Ready? Okay. Yes. All right. So since that's going well, the next thing I want to do is I want to attach the cue to it. I want to tell her what this behavior is. So her word's going to be down. So you ready? So we'll get her up. Okay. And you're just going to attach that word right before that gesture. So everything's the same except you're going to add that word first. Good girl. Ready? Down. Yes. And then as soon as she does, yes and treat. Good girl. Okay. Down. Yes. And treat. Okay. Ready? Down. Yes. And treat. Okay. Ready? Ready? Down. Yes. And treat. Okay. Down. Yes. And treat. And you obviously don't have to say the treat at the end. I'm just letting you know I'm treating at the end. Okay. Down. Yes. And treat. Right there. So next, since she's doing so well on that, you're such a smart little puppy, I'm going to try to fade my hand gesture. So instead of going from her nose all the way to her toes, I'm going to go from her nose maybe about a ½ an inch away from the ground, because I want to end up getting my hand out of the picture at some point. I want to be able to say down without needing a hand lure. Ready? Oops, sorry. All right, find all the crumbs. Okay, come here. So down, yes. So my hand was about maybe an inch away from the ground. Okay. Down, yes. I'm waiting for those elbows to hit. Okay. Down. Yes. Okay. Down. Yes. Okay. Down. Yes. You see, my hand's even less to the ground. Okay. Down. Yes. Okay. Down. Yes. Okay. Down. Yes. Okay. Okay, one more. Down. Yes. Okay. All right, nice job, Willow. So this week, I want you to work on practicing on your dog's down behavior. And as always, you're gonna go with what your dog is offering. You're gonna work towards his current goals. So these videos, you can go back and forward to figure out what's gonna be the next step for your dog. So for Willow, we're working on naming the behavior, so teaching her it's the down cue, having her follow gestures with no food, and we're actually now starting to lessen the gesture, meaning not go all the way to the ground, but maybe a half an inch from the ground, or go 2 inches from the ground, so that eventually we can fade it out. The next thing that we're gonna do as well is once we start to fade out that gesture, we're gonna work on standing up. So that's a big difference for our dogs, especially our small dogs, because now we're way up here. So that gesture that we helped them over here, we're up here. So stay tuned for that video.
Let me tell you a story about the baddest dog that ever was. Sneaking food from the fridge, tearing up the garbage. He's a goofy old Dexter the dog. He's a bad Dexter the dog, the baddest pup that there ever was.